No.
No, nice to see you.
Nice to see you. So the wall does exist, but it only exists if you don't work on yourself.
It exists in your mind. Hello babes and welcome back to my channel. It's nice to see you. For those of you who don't know me, I am Prettyonme and I'm all about things all lovely and gorgeous and nice and pretty. Thank you! So if that sounds good to you, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to join our Instagram and Facebook Babe Squad because we're here and we're there. So today, we're gonna have a Prettyonme chat. We're gonna talk about some things. We're gonna talk about some controversial things. Something that is a little near and dear to my heart, and that is the wall.
The wall.
So for those of you who do not know what the wall is, we shall explain.
Okay, so let's get to Jetta.
So joining me here today for our Prettyonme chat is my lovely sister. So lately I've been kind of like surfing the internet and I've been running into this content, MGTOW, or like this community of men.
And it's a community of men who consider themselves like men going their own way. So men who are trying to understand themselves, figure out themselves, as well as being highly aware of female nature.
Part of that journey of going their own way is trying to understand the female psyche.
How that can negatively affect men and what men should be aware of when they're dealing with women in relationships, as well as women in general.
To dive into it a little bit further, so we found this Reddit post.
So basically, the wall is, they say once a woman hits 30, it's all downhill from there. She starts to freak out about having a child and doesn't understand why she doesn't get the same attention as she did when she was 20. Red Pill also says to not date or marry women over 30 unless you want to deal with emotional baggage and unrealistic high standards. So Red Pill says that as a guy, your social or your sexual market value goes up as you age, and that you should target women under 25 because of this.
So basically, men's value goes up as they age, women's value goes down. That's why you should pick younger women.
And then some of the variables that affect that is her looks. The main things that I've heard is looks and fertility. Those are the two things. And for men, the reason why their value goes up is because of their assets and their finances. Said about
that is crazy. And see, so just for some context, she is 21, right? So she's coming at it from an angle. I want to hear her perspective at an angle of a girl who's like in her early 20s. She's just like discovering life. And for me, like for those of you, I talk about it on my channel all the time. I'm 30.
She's 30, but she looks awesome.
You look awesome. Look at you. So reading all of that. Before I get into like what I think, like reading all of that, what do you think so far? Like, do you agree with that? Do you as a woman, because you are a woman who is in her early 20s, do you have any concerns about hitting 30 because of that concept? Because of that, because supposedly men will find you less attractive, like if you don't find a mate by that time.
To be quite frank with you, when it comes to the wall, I can understand how they say things like, oh, fertility goes down, because it is a biological fact. Your fertility does go down. Emotional baggage comes along with age and time, which is true. You tend to have more experiences that occur as you age, right? But the thing is that it's not, you can have a 21-year-old who has not as much experience as a 30-year-old, but it doesn't necessarily mean that because they don't have as much experience or baggage from the past, it makes them a better person than the 30-year-old. Sometimes experience allows you to gain wisdom and understanding. With time, you have more things that, you know, mess up your emotion and your psychology, and because all of these things have happened to you, but you also have to understand that people can grow and learn from that.
But I mean, you've gone through some negative experiences, but you don't.
Okay.
It's not that you had like severe, like how do you know every female has had severe traumatic experiences that cause emotional baggage? Some people are 30 and they're like perfectly healthy, and and happy.
Yeah, it's true that not everybody in the population is going to go through negative experiences by the time they turn 30.
Or traumatic experiences.
Yeah, traumatic experiences. But most of those individuals tend to be very sheltered individuals. But if you're talking about somebody who's putting themselves out there and is going through a lot of experiences, not just with themselves, but with the friends that they make in life, with the way that they deal with school, with the way that they deal with work, with the way that they deal with personal relationships, as well as social experiences, you know, that all includes relationships and stuff, right? That is all putting them in a likely chance of dealing with traumatic or possible bad experiences that could leave a mark on them. Because around the age of 20 to 30 is when a lot of girls my age, because I've noticed this, start to experiment with themselves sexually.
That's why you close the door.
Start to
Don't
experiment.
need the kids.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Start to experiment with themselves sexually, start to go in a lot of relationships, you know. This is where a lot of milestones get reached and hit, and through those milestones there's bound to be times where you trip and fall. But it's not about the experiences themselves, it's about the way the person reacts to the experiences that makes it. Because
that's true.
You know what I'm saying?
I was gonna say that because I was gonna say so to add to that, how do we know that women respond in that manner? Like, some people handle their traumas very well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So essentially what we shouldn't be doing is making generalizations, but that's okay. Let's continue. So essentially that's just kind of like how you feel. So you have to be very clear here, because I feel like, so you're saying that you agree that to a certain extent value for women goes down when
No.
you're 30.
Okay.
To a certain extent. So you're saying biologically there's a decline.
Biologically,
And then-
there's a decline which can affect their market value. But in terms of their intellect and their personality, that's all dependent on the individual themselves.
So basically what you're saying is that while biologically there is somewhat of a decline, you think that there's value, men can also raise in value after 30, and then same thing can happen for women. Women can go on a journey and raise in value after 30.
Exactly.
One, I would say, like, I agree that biologically, like, it's a fact, right? They say, like, your odds, like, after 30 of conceiving are still pretty high, and, like, at least, like, there is a higher success rate from 30 to 34 years old of you conceiving and bringing children to term, right? But I mean, there is a fact, like, especially around 35 is when the quality of your eggs, if we want to, like, be very specific, like, the quality of your eggs does go on.
The number of
decline.
yeah.
So if we're talking about fertility speaking, right? So it's biologic. That's just how it is. That's just a known fact. Like after a certain age, you're at higher risk of, like, you have more chance of a high risk pregnancy if you decide to have kids. So with that being said, like, so I think there is a biological wall, right? But to go back to, like, how MG Tao is kind of, at least how I perceive that MG Tao is kind of putting it, is that I think we're placing too much emphasis on, like, essentially overall we're saying, like, okay, because women hit this wall in looks and fertility, and for that reason we should go for women that are younger. I feel like, fine, if you're a type of person that you want to go after women who are younger, that's totally fine. Like that's your personal preference. But I feel like where it becomes, like, really super toxic is, like, when you're telling people that all women hit this wall, so therefore they're not of value. So I feel like, one, let's normalize aging, because I mean, I don't know nobody on this planet that lives forever. Like, I don't know anybody on this planet that's gonna be 25 forever. So, like, first, let's start, like, normalizing aging, first of all, because why should it be the fault of a woman that, and even men, right? Like, men age too, right? They have certain biological factors that decline as well, right? So, like, so your metabolism is not as, like, strong as it was when you were in your early 20s, right? Just certain things like that happen when you get older. Maybe you might feel a little bit more aches and pains and this, that. So, like, why, first of all, let's normalize aging, because that happens. Just because you hit 30 doesn't mean that you're, like, trash. Like, just biologically, it's the truth. Like when you hit a certain age, your boobs are gonna sag. It might be a little harder to lose that pooch weight because your metabolism goes down. Like, why? I can't control that. I can't control that.
Yeah.
So why should I be told why should you be told you're trash because, or you're like not marketable because of the fact that because of these factors that you cannot control. Like essentially you can't control. Now regarding like the emotional baggage, just kind of like what you were saying earlier. Again, that's assuming that everybody has every woman has like all these negative experiences and they respond to traumas in a way that makes it problematic for later relationships, right? So that's also, I think, an unfair assumption because not everybody responds to trauma the same way. 3, let's normalize not needing to have kids. Like that's the number one thing. It's like, why, if at the end of the day, everyone has their own preferences, right?
Okay.
Like, I think to make that general statement, to say like, okay, all women, like they've gone through all these life experiences, they have emotional baggage, like physically they decline, and like their fertility declines. It's like, okay, well, not all women want to have kids. Not all men want to be with women who want to have kids. Not all men and women want to have kids. Like, so why should that be a defining factor? At the end of the day, I think, again, where things become toxic is if we're just generalizing and saying all women are this, all men are this, all women are this, all men are this. Some people like to date younger people. Some men like to date older women. We done see that too. Where some women like to date older women. So like it's user preference.
Okay, you know what? If I had to end it off in this way, what I would say specifically is, don't think about the wall. Don't think about hitting a certain age and feeling like your value has declined. What you need to think about is, how are you as an individual going to approach the obstacles that life gives you, right? So if you were a 20-year-old fresh out of the boat, living life, you went through all of these situations, right? It's not about taking those bad experiences and failures and making yourself feel lower than and putting yourself down and, you know, having that kind of low self-esteem reflect in relationships. It's about using those failures and those bad past experiences to build you up as a person. Don't let age be the thing that determines how you will be like at a specific time in your life. Just because you're 30 years old doesn't mean that you're gonna grow a pouch. Start working out. Tina is 30 years old. Her body is better than mine, and I'm 21 years old.
Why are you telling my age though?
I'm sorry. Man, it's like, it's not about the age that makes the person. It's about the way people use the experiences in life to create them to be who they are today.
I mean,
I keep looking at the viewfinder. I'm sorry.
that is okay.
You can put that in the I want them to know I'm sorry for looking at myself.
Right. I posted something the other day on Instagram that was like, let's stop like creating these categories. Like, it was showing like a woman who was at 31 and she was just a career woman and she didn't have any kids, she wasn't married, she wasn't in a relationship. And then it showed another woman at 31 who had kids and she was married and she had a family. So basically the message of the post was just basically saying, okay, let's stop creating these categories. This girl at 31 who has a career and had no kids is doing just fine. And this woman who had chosen to have a family earlier, maybe in her early 20s, is doing just fine. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's normalize the fact that everybody's at their own personal, like, they're at their own personal point. It's just whatever your pursuit is. And I feel like that's what Prettyonme is about, is like, as long as you're not hurting anybody, like, do your thing. You have your own specific lane. So I feel like I want to end this just by saying, like, it's Valentine's. Right? So or actually by the time I post this, it won't be Valentine's actually. So it's February.
Yes.
So as we're kind of thinking about February and like dating.
Actually, tomorrow's gonna be Galentine's.
What's Galentine's?
Galentine's.
Oh, okay, so it's like between friends.
Yeah.
Like you have like
Galentine's
friends Galentine's.
Day. Yeah,
I think that's so cute.
To end it off on a positive note, you know.
This is made out of bones.
Ew.
I think it's
because we are Vikings. Yes.
I think it's made out of bone, actually. What is it? No, it's
ivory. Ivory is made out of
ivory.
Ivory
Yeah,
is
it's
from
just
bone.
made out of bone,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
We're drinking it on bone cups.
Bones.
So anyway, this February, when you're thinking about dating, just think about just kind of like how we promote, well, how I promote on this channel, we promote, whatever, this community we promote, that you're in your own lane, essentially. You're in your own lane, you're at your own point in life. Like, let's normalize aging. Let's normalize the fact that you don't necessarily have to be in a relationship to be happy, and let's normalize that it's okay if you want to be in a relationship, you want to have a family, and you like want to be happy that way, and you choose to have your happiness that way. So that's just the whole point. You're in your own lane, and you have to understand that you're at your own point. Don't compare yourself to other people. And I feel like that's a more positive message. There's stuff that we as women can't control, and let's just normalize it. It's normal. Like I know, like, me being in my 30s now, I can't eat the same way that I did in my 20s because my metabolism has gone down. There's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing I could do about it. Like, that's just the aging process. And the fact that we keep looking at the aging process as if it's something like disgusting is like insane to me.
To be honest, if I had to summarize it this way, I think the wall is true only for those who don't know how to overcome life's failures and how life's obstacles hit you. But the wall doesn't exist for people who use failures to help them become better. Because if you use those failures to help you become better, it doesn't matter whether you're 30, 31, 32, or 21, right? You will be a high value woman or a high value man. So the wall does exist, but it only exists if you don't work on yourself.
It exists in your mind. So Janet, what goals do you have for yourself by 30? What goals do you have for yourself by 30?
Honestly speaking, I can't say that I have a 100% goal for 30, but here's what I want in the long term. I want to be
in the next couple of, like, let's say, like, it doesn't have to be like by your 30s, like maybe like in the next 5 years.
Okay, let me just say, my goal for 30s is, at least for what I can see right now, obviously that'll change with time, but I just want to be healthy. I want to get in the best shape of my life. I want to figure out what I want to do with my career. You know, I want to also learn more about the world and about myself. And hopefully I also want to be able to find a really good relationship with a great guy.
I think for me, in the next 5 years, I definitely want to be in the best shape of my life.
Yes.
Because I'm working out, I'm working on myself. And not even just for aesthetic reasons. Like, I enjoy being strong. Like, I like, remember the time I told you about the time that I did my first pull-up? Like, that's what excites me, right? So I want to be strong and flexible and healthy into my like late 30s and 40s. So yeah, so like every woman has her own goal and has her own lane and what she's seeking, and we should definitely celebrate that. Okay, babes, so thanks so much for joining us for our first, I think this is like our first like Pretty on Me chat where I have like someone else, you know what I mean, like we're actually like talking. So you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button on your way out, and then also don't forget to join our Pretty on Me Babe Squad on Instagram and Facebook. And don't forget to tune in on Fridays for all day reminders that you slay every which way. And I will see you babes in the next video.
She will see you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.